Once upon a time, there was a tiny what?
Snail.
And the tiny snail's name was?
Frank.
And it lived in a most unusual place for a snail, which
The
was?
top of a tree.
And it knew that all of its friends were just a few feet below, but it had a problem. And that problem was?
He didn't have the snail ooze, and
Yep.
so he would get stuck on the bark, and it was very embarrassing.
This is Improv in Real Life. I'm Jude Treder-Wolff. I've worked in mental health for 40 years, and in that time, the world has changed completely. Technology has transformed how we communicate, connect, even how we work. But in our relationships, change doesn't happen that fast. That's where improv comes in. Improvisers learn to create together without a plan, and they do that by learning a set of skills. Anyone can learn these skills, and they translate directly to life. In this podcast, we'll explore how improv can help us navigate the speed of life. And together, we'll explore how to face change with creativity, agility, and a sense of play.
I was reading Harvard Business Review about the skills everyone needs in the job market of today, particularly with the looming impact of AI that no one really seems to be able to predict. But they all emphasize skills like mental agility, creative thinking, and resourcefulness, and the ability to create our own opportunities as the systems around us are changing. Well, these are the skills of a working artist. They are the skills of an improviser applied to real life. And my guest today, Peter Michael Marino, creator of Show Up Kids, lives this idea. He's an actor, improviser, playwright, educator, and he does it all with the improvisational spirit of building up everyone that he can. And he's hilarious. I hope you enjoy.
This podcast is brought to you by LifeStage. LifeStage provides opportunities for people to gain skills and knowledge for navigating today's uncertain world. The capacity for creativity, connection to new ideas and other people, collaboration, and community building. For more information, visit lifestage.me.
Welcome to Improv in Real Life, Peter Michael Marino. I am so happy to see you today.
Thank you so much. It's like we've gone through many different phases of our careers together, and now I'm on your podcast talking about improv. We wouldn't have suspected that many years ago.
Never suspected that. And here's what you never suspected, and I never suspected, is that I saw you in Stomp before I ever met you.
Crazy.
And I love Stomp so much. I took 3 different kids that I helped raise. At age 12, they would all get to go to Stomp. It was like a ritual. And then when I found out later on, when you and I met, that you were in Stomp, that was pretty special.
Oh, thank you. It was one of the most special experiences I've had in my life. Absolutely. I was actually just telling someone yesterday that I was not aware that I was a clown, that clowning is my thing, even though I played the clown. There's, we're all clowns in Stomp, but there's one particular role that's extremely clownish, meaning you're alone on stage. If you're on tour, you're in front of 3,000 people. You're alone. You're not talking. And you've got to express a want. I want to play these paint scrapers to 3,000 people without talking and failing at it and trying to achieve your thing, which is basically what clowning is. And it's just so crazy that nobody said, by the way, you're the clown. Or, by the way, you are a clown. Did you know that's one of your skills? I did not know that was one of my skills. And now pretty much everything I do is completely inspired and based on clown.
Well, I want to talk more about clown with you. And I want to just say one final thought about Stomp, since we opened with that and you just shared that fun experience of it and insight about it, is that for people who have never seen Stomp, it was an off-Broadway show completely without words, in which the characters were inspired by the sounds of the world that they were in. And they were all janitors, I guess.
You can say whatever you want. I've had people tell me the plot of Stomp, and I'm always delighted to find out that there's a plot in the show that I'm in.
Yeah, it was the brooms would come to life, the pails would come to life, they would make sounds and dance.
Zippo lighters,
newspapers,
Slurpee cups, newspapers. Yeah, you know it.
Snapping the newspapers in rhythm, and then it became an orchestra of sounds from ordinary things.
Yeah.
So if you find YouTube clips of Stomp, I highly recommend. It's so inspiring. That brings us to our idea for the podcast and what we're talking about here, which is making something out of whatever is in front of you.
Mm,
That's the thing I would always talk to the kids about when we would say, take what's in front of you and make something out of it. And
mm.
Peter, your career and the way you live your life as an independent actor and an independent artist in New York and in the world is to make something out of what's in front of you and just try stuff.
Mm.
And that's always inspired me about you. And I've always been admiring of that. Not only the way you, some of it, it's just gets really out there. Like I want to talk about Show Up Kids, but also the way you are on social media with all of the rest of us that are just trying things. It's always like Peter will make you feel like, do it. It's okay. Try
Oh,
stuff. Try to make it happen. And if it doesn't happen, well, you got somewhere. You did something. Do you want to just share anything
thank
about
you.
how does that is that something that you feel like your actor and improv training gave you, or this is something that was in you, therefore you channeled it into this line of work? What do you think about that?
Hmm. I mean, this is sometimes tricky. I feel like a lot of it just comes from my ADHD, honestly.
What a
Um,
wonderful example of taking what you have in front of you and then making it work for you.
yeah, yeah. Like in the ADHD world, it's like a crime to say that it's your superpower. And I am literally paying my rent because of my superpower, right? Like, Show Up Kids, which we'll talk about. I'm literally making up a kid show like every freaking time for 6 years now, based on what's in front of me. And it's this kind of like, I have like a joy in having to solve a problem of there being disparate information nuggets being thrown my way. And sometimes that even apply. Literally this morning, I'm putting together a press release for a festival. That's 10,000 pieces of information that I have to suck into one page. But that's kind of what I do with my improv as well, especially with kids, because you're getting lots of stuff from them and emotional. Like they're responding, they're not just saying like a garbage can, they're saying a garbage can. There's emotion behind it. So it's taking all that stuff in. And I mean, this is strange also. So there's now myself and then three other people who have performed or continue to perform Show Up Kids. Thank God I did not write a show that only I could do because it's hard to do that show all the time. But all four of us are on the ADHD spectrum.
Interesting.
And I'm like, oh, that's why I loved you. That's why I knew you were right for this. That's why sometimes having discussions backstage is a little like, right? Because we're all like, my brain is here, my goal is there, my want is here, my challenge is there. So if there's
Okay.
anyone else out there who's a great improviser who loves working with kids who has ADHD, send me your stuff because you're
That's
probably right for this show. Use your
so
superpower.
okay, Peter. So let's go through what Show Up Kids is as an experience. And I wonder if you could take me through as if I'm one of the kids. Like, could we do an experience together? Like what you do with the kids and have me be, I'll be an adult kid, but I also could act like, I'm not going to pretend to be a kid, but I'll be the very most kid-like, open, authentic version of myself that I can be.
Or just
In,
be yourself
I'll
because
just be myself.
the show is for grown-ups and kids. We ask them to sit together and we definitely choose adults to answer some of our questions. Like once upon a time there was a tiny what?
Snail.
And the tiny snail's name was?
Frank.
And it lived in a most unusual place for a snail, which
The
was,
top of a tree.
yeah, it lived on the top of a beautiful oak tree. And it knew that all of its friends were just like a few feet below, always playing around on the rocks and the shells and things down there. And it wanted to get down there, but it had a problem. And that problem was,
The problem was, well, the reason he lived on the top of the tree was because he didn't have the all of the snail ooze that
exactly.
gets you places, and
Yep.
so he would get stuck on the bark, and it was very embarrassing.
Yeah, because he knew that if he just like leapt, then he would fall, and who knows what happens. And if he tried to use his slime, it would take a very, very long time because he had particularly slow flowing slime.
He had slow flowing slime, and he was born with it.
Yeah, yeah. But luckily, a big bird came along one day and slimed all over him. And he was able to use the bird's slime to slime down the tree and join his friends, where he found out
that they were waiting for him. And they were like, why are you? We love you. We were like waiting for you to join us.
And he was like, thank you for accepting me, even though I'm different. And they all lived happily ever after. Message made. End of day. Thanks for coming. Tell your friends. You did it. You passed.
That was very fun. I do remember going to an online Show Up Kids during the pandemic with my godson.
Yep.
And seeing you, it was very inspiring. So what happens next in Show Up Kids? Like you interview, you get the story.
So it's basically what I just did. I mean, Show Up Kids has changed drastically because of the pandemic. So originally, there was a show called Show Up. I had been working extensively in the solo show world. And as most people who work in a place for a particular time learn, there are certain tropes, habits, themes, and things that happen all the time in that world. So being the parodist, is that the right word? Parodist?
Yes, that is a word.
Okay.
You are you parody.
Yeah.
You're a parodist.
I'm a natural parodist. I love parodying things. I had to parody the world of solo shows. So the way that my director, Nicole Biancasino, and I workshopped it was, how about we I have a terrible memory, which is also why I don't really like doing theater. I like doing improv. There, I said it. That I would take these giant Post-it notes and put them on the wall of the theater and write down things that for Show Up, things that you see in solo shows. Give me a terrible love story experience. Tell me about a terrible job. Tell me about an interesting relationship you had. Tell me about a place you've always wanted to go. What are you scared of? What do you want? Blah, 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 blah. So I'd fill the wall with all this stuff, and then I would create a solo show complete with, bad singing, ridiculous poetry, oversharing, playing too many characters, ridiculous blocking, moments of emotion. I would do all those things. And by the end, I had successfully, usually, used all of those things to create this fictional person who has this really, really interesting life that needs to be told as a solo show. So one day, some guy I don't know came to see Show Up and took me out for coffee and said, I want to give you a commission to go into public schools and teach kids how to write a solo show. And
wow.
I said, literally the worst idea I've ever heard, right? I never want to tell anyone. I never want to encourage anyone to do solo shows. How about this? How about we create a show that teaches kids how to be in the moment and take risks and create a story at the same time? Here's your check. So Nicole and I went off and we reworked Show Up and we turned it into Show Up Kids, which was more about what's a superhero power you wish you had? What's something you love to do on vacation? What's just kids things. And it was basically the same thing. The setup for Show Up was that I've done so many solo shows, I got nothing left. I need to get stuff from you. What the Show Up Kids is, Sally, the silly song singer, is here to do a show. I'm just helping her out because I need to pay the rent. We introduce Sally. She doesn't show up. So the person on stage is like, oh, I need to do the show. How do I do that? I guess there's a story and there's characters and there's a setting and there's all the things you need in improv or storytelling. And so let's get you to help with all of that stuff. So pandemic happened. We didn't need a wall full of Post-it notes. We said, how about we just kind of make it more like Mad Libs, make it more like a Mad Libs. So they're really more active as it goes on. And that's what the show is now. It's very, very Mad Libs, which also is not only a great challenge for the improviser, but also a great relief because if you are in the moment and you really cannot think of, I opened the door and there was a giant, and you as a performer really do not know what that's going to be, luckily the audience will say a gorilla or a refrigerator or whatever.
Right. And the audience is 100%, my assumption would be the audience would be very much on your side because they know they just threw that thing at you.
All right. So there's a great observation, Jude. Yes. They're not only on your side because I think as people, we generally want to help other people. And clown is always someone in trouble trying to get out of trouble, right? For the most part. Here we have an adult man, doesn't have kids, never done a show, needs to do a show. How's he going to do it? We're going to help him. We're going to feel good about ourselves by helping him. And then this guy is accepting all of our offers and making us look good as audience members because we're so clever. Everybody wins. Mostly the performer because you don't have to do anything but listen to what they say and have a ton of energy and empathy. That comes with the territory.
Exactly. But it doesn't necessarily come from people in life unless they know to do that. And I think improv training is one way that people learn to react honestly and authentically to something, or to react in a way that they choose with fun. Let's say if it's a gorilla outside the door, to say, "Oh, that's my favorite gorilla."
Yeah.
I didn't know. Oh, I didn't know you were coming over.
Yeah.
So the empathy and the connection to what someone else does that we don't expect, that is not, for some people, that is just not intuitive.
That's
And
right.
to learn to do it is a wonderful thing for that door to open inside of a person. And I think people watching it's like when you watch somebody stand up to a bully, you feel more empowered to stand up for a bully, or you find courage when you see other people having courage. When you go out there as a character that says, "Oh my gosh, oh no, no, this is the actor's nightmare. I don't know what to do now. You have to help me." You're modeling for people, "I need help. You're going to give me help, and I'm going to accept it and embrace it." And that is, whether people know it or not, that filters in as a model for a
Yeah.
way to be in the world, to be
Yeah.
impacted by the world.
And also it's a double sandwich, I guess, because not only is the real person on stage struggling with the problem, but so is the character.
Right.
So they're rooting for the character to win, and they're winning for the person on stage to win.
Yes. And so your ability to say yes to their offers, and I don't know, I think it would be fun if you could share any time that something really. Did you ever find an audience member tried to mess with you, and how did the audience react to that?
Yes, it's always the show is for 3 to 10 year olds, and if they bring their 11-year-old, forget it. They're just going to try to sabotage the whole show.
So how do you
So,
handle that? What do
so
you do?
I always think of this one time very early on in the run where I said, somehow it was a guy who worked at a circus, and he said, and then the dog came in, and I what? And this kid said, shot him.
Oh no.
So I said, that's right. I picked him up and I put on his special little cape and I put him inside of the cannon, and we lit the cannon and we shot him out of the cannon, and he flew over the audience's heads, wagging his tail, and soon that dog became the star of the circus. So I still took their suggestion and I used it in a way that they didn't expect, or the rest of the audience didn't expect. And so everyone loved it.
What a wonderful choice to make, also to make it something where you elevate it. I mean, you just didn't have to shame that person, but also elevate the whole suggestion to something. It's a wonderful gift that improv can give. And I do find when I'm working with people I work with a lot of people in mental health, teaching improv and stuff. And we're so constrained. It makes me aware of how constrained I am by the rules of
Yeah.
being a social worker, being a counselor. You could do this, you can't do that. A lot of it isn't really that real. A lot of it's just the fear of getting something wrong in our own heads. And we find these rules that were taught 20 to 30 years ago that don't really matter in the moment with this person.
Well, it was making me think about the rules of improv and how sometimes I think if you're experienced, it's okay to break the rules.
Same is true with being an experienced therapist, teacher, etc. It's when you internalize the role, when you internalize, my purpose here is this. So, for example, when you get this suggestion of a terrible thing in the show that could derail the whole thing, and instead you stay the course of, I elevate ideas and make them into something that you won't expect. It's the element of creating scenes in which a character does an unusual thing.
Yep.
I will find often the people working in mental health will be so thrown by that. Like they want to do something that's normal, I guess, or conventional.
You mean as performers, they're
Well,
more
when we're
likely
learning, when we're learning improv, and I'm trying to teach imagination and to
Yeah.
be that you can make change in your life. This is sort of my philosophy as a therapist, improviser, person, and storyteller, is that we can make change in our life if we can imagine being different, if we can imagine a different choice right now, or we can imagine a version of ourselves that hasn't happened yet. So when I was smoking, for example, I smoked from 15 to age 30, and I smoked a lot, and I loved smoking, but I knew that I had to stop. But I could not see myself as that person that didn't smoke anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's the
I-
whole trick is you have to
yeah.
recreate yourself as someone who doesn't smoke. That's the
Right.
goal. That's the trick.
And I didn't have an identity as a person who didn't smoke. I had a very strong identity as a person who smoked and resented people for not liking it,
Yeah.
about me. And all those defenses had to be reconfigured. And I actually I wasn't so much into improvisation then, but I was always a creative arts therapist, but I always thought create a version of yourself and pretend you are that person, say yes to that. And after a while, you may live yourself into that change. And as an improviser, you'll learn to do that. That gap goes from, oh, 3 years, I have an idea that'll happen in 3 years. Now it's happening in 3 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great example with them throwing you off course with a terrible suggestion. So yeah, so the idea of being impacted by people's ideas, being emotionally authentic, elevating. And one of the things that you model in your relationship with other artists, and I'm sure you do this on stage and you do this with your audiences. And by the way, everybody, go to Peter's website, which will be in the show notes, and you'll see where Show Up Kids is happening or where you can make it happen in your world, because you can hire him. Is the way you encourage everybody all the time. I've done solo shows. You always show up. You show up for everybody's stuff. And you're so encouraging, and you live that idea of make your partners look good.
Yeah.
There's nothing, I mean, the only thing it seems to me that is in it for you to do that is to be the kind of person you want to be in the world. I mean, you never make somebody feel like you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, as I get older, I'm sort of a little bit more aware of the things that people do that I don't cotton to, like just bad habits that are sort of like ingrained in someone's personality. Like they're just like always gossiping, let's say. That's their thing. Or they're constantly questioning things, or they're reluctant to do most things. As I get older, it becomes easier to have a relationship with those people because you know what their thing is, I guess. And I think that I always find people's, I don't want to say faults, but people's peccadillos as like inspiration for how to improve my own life. Like I can lead by, like you're leading by bad example, and I can take your bad example and actually like learn to not do that because it's not attractive to me.
Well, that's another example of using what's in front of you, even though it might be troubling, and turning it into something that is useful. I'm going to take from this conversation something I'm about to say right now, I hope I remember to say it at the end, but that we're all clowns with problems and trying to figure them out. And for the most part, we might not figure them out. It's just, we don't even know what blind spots we have that show. What you're talking about is our blind spots, they show. People see what we don't see about ourselves, other people see.
Yeah.
And I find myself too, I used to be sort of like, everyone's a good person unless they prove me wrong. And I've grown out of some of that, Wisconsin Wonderland. Everybody's great. But I've learned to be more discerning about people. But it also doesn't have to mean a lot. It just means observing and accepting and recognizing people are who they are. And like you said, use that in some way for your own life, but also for your own art, right? I mean,
yeah. It makes me think of so Show Up Kids is totally family based. I also work with NYC Kids Project, which is a puppet company that goes into public schools and teaches kids about empathy and acceptance and things like that. And from that experience and my own, I'm able to identify what that kid's thing is. They have to always be moving, or that kid. So I think 20 years ago, I'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with that kid? Why are they annoying me? Why are they ruining my show? Why are they not giving me everything? Now I'm able to be like, oh, that kid has some special needs. That's why they're doing that. So how can I make this experience better for them? Maybe it means I need to just talk softer. Maybe it needs I need to talk slower. Maybe it needs don't give that kid eye contact, because that's when they're triggered into whatever behavior that we don't expect from an audience member at a show. But that same theory, look, I just think it's so easy. I went through much of my life getting frustrated with people and having a short fuse and being angry about things. And I feel like in the last few years of really good therapy and learning about ketamine therapy especially has been super, super helpful for me, that I don't have to be like that. And it's so much easier on my system to just let it go.
Yeah.
The person in front of me at the supermarket who just can't get their shit together and is just, oh, get your coupons together ahead of time, or why can't you get your stuff in your bag, like whatever. Instead of that, like just now, I'm feeling all revved up just from thinking about this imaginary person. Well, instead, just like look at that imaginary person and be like, oh, they're having a bad day. Oh, they're slower than me. Oh, who knows? It could be a million things. But like, it just changes that whole extra 3 minutes on the line at the supermarket from something that would normally in the past make me rageful and hate the human race to like, oh, look, that person is just like me yesterday when I was a dick at the coffee shop, whatever it was. No, I stopped the podcast for saying the F word, and then I go and throw in three more.
No, it's okay. It's all right. This is not a kid-focused
I know.
podcast.
See, my
Yeah.
brain. Yeah,
Yeah.
my brain.
But what you're describing though is, I mean, everybody has some kind of arc of change in their life if they're living, if they're responding to life. And so my arc is so opposite because I came from this very like be so Wisconsin kind and Catholic,
Mhm. Same.
and I didn't think I knew that about you.
Catholic school in Queens till seventh grade. Yeah.
All right. Well, then we got some of the same, probably the same Catholic rules.
Yeah.
And then I love my home state, but there is a way in which you just aren't supposed to notice things about other people that bother you. You just
Yeah.
talk about them when they're not around, okay?
So
Like
Canadian,
a normal
it's almost
person.
Canadian.
Oh, it's very
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, sure. Yeah,
Right.
here, have half of my sandwich. And then later go like, could they not just bring their own lunch? Like, why do they have to beg me for their lunch? But so I actually, sidebar, but I loved New York when I moved out here because people were honest about how they felt. If they were mad at you, you knew it. For the most part, people were real. And it took me back. It was shocking to my system. I wasn't used to it. And then I thought, oh, this is actually so much easier because you can get over it. And then I had to learn skills in being able to express that myself. But so I had somewhat of a different arc. Like I had to let myself be impacted by things that bothered me and then learn to speak about them. And you're talking about, see, I think some of what you're describing, the therapist in me can't help but say ADHD and the struggles of that and the life of an artist and all the stress of it. That's probably why you felt grouchy toward people.
Yeah.
I mean, that needed to be treated. And when that got treated, all of it works together. It's partly the clinical treatment with the medication and therapy, which changes your brain, even talking about ourselves and going deeper. But also everything you do artistically changes your brain. You being in the right line of work for you. I'm not just saying that to you, but I'm saying that I think that's partly why you were able to channel your struggles into something that is a match.
I think you're right. Thank you, doctor.
That's why I'm here. That's why I get the big bucks. That's why I do the pod. So, Peter, before we go too long, I really want you to talk about the Kennedy Center work that you did so we can share with people. We can grieve together, something that is happening, unfortunately, that happened to you. But the work itself was so inspiring, and let's not give up. Maybe it'll come back. But can you just share what that project was and everything you want to say about it?
I mean, really, it's more of a relationship. The relationship is the part that's the most difficult to. The loss of the relationship is the most difficult part of this artistic process. It wasn't so much about the projects. The projects pay well. The projects allow me to explore areas of my brain that I'm not familiar with. During pandemic, somehow I found out that they were commissioning people to create videos from artists that taught kids things to do since they were stuck at home. So I submitted what I thought everyone would submit, how to put on a show in your own house.
Wonderful.
Right. I guess nobody submitted that. And it's because, I liked to be alone when I was a kid, and I spent many, many hours in the basement of my apartment in Queens putting together shows, having never seen a show. Like, I never saw a Broadway show. We never went to see the arts or anything like that. Also, maybe my Catholic school didn't really provide any of that information as well. So anyway, they were very, very involved in that process. It was a very funny thing. If you watch the video on the Kennedy Center Education website, I'm there in Times Square going, here we are in Times Square where everything happens. There's nobody there. It's like me and a selfie stick, learning.
Oh, right. During the pandemic, there's nobody there.
Oh, there's nobody to help me either. So I'm like learning how to record myself and, get a microphone. And luckily they paid for all that equipment, which was also great. Anyway, It turned out to be a big hit. It was a really, really fun video. That led to pandemic was over-ish, and the Washington National Opera, who was also housed at the Kennedy Center, asked, will you do this, a look-in? This is a thing that happens every year. It's live on stage for 2,000 kids who come all around from all over the area. And whatever opera is playing at that time, we shrink down into 30 minutes plus 30 minutes of education about opera. And I said, that sounds great. I don't know anything about opera at all. And they said, that's why we want you to do the job. So I learned all about opera and I did, I don't even know what, La Boheme. So I had to write all the material for the host to introduce scenes and talk about what a fly system is and what a stage manager is and what an alto is and just everything in 1 hour. Got it. So then they asked me to do what they call an evergreen series, which I later found out means has to last forever. No pressure, Pete. Write an evergreen series about opera. Everything about it. Again, like I knew very little. So they helped me out a lot. I did a lot of reading, did a lot of writing, and wound up creating 4 educational videos: the history of opera, the people in opera, the music of the opera, and I don't know, some other thing. And that went really well. So then I did 2 more live on stage shows. And then after the 4th project or 5th project, they said, we want to know what you have. We want to commission and develop one of your projects. Do you have anything? And here, artists, it's always good to have something in your back pocket because you never know in the elevator at the Kennedy Center when they might ask you. And you go, yes, I do, as a matter of fact. I've been working on this book, children's book, about a piece of confetti that is different than all the others and has very strange experiences flying on the wind. And in the moment, I said, I think it really should be a theater piece and nonverbal. Eyes lit up, nonverbal. Going back to Stomp. That's why Stomp is a success, right?
Yes.
Nonverbal. Blue Man Group, nonverbal. Thousand Balloon Show, whatever it's called, nonverbal. So we started that process of developing originally it was a theater for young audiences. Theater for young audiences is like 3 to 10. There's also a category called TVY, theater for very young audiences. That is literally 0, just born, to 3 or 4, which also crosses over with kids on a spectrum. So you can have your show for a 3-year-old could possibly also work for a 7-year-old who's autistic. Great. I love all that stuff. So we started that process. I started learning puppetry because we learned, oh boy, this is actually a puppet show. Went to the O'Neill this summer, got all this training on object movement, blah, 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 blah. We're 18 months in and my 2 bosses at the Kennedy Center say, we're leaving. We can't work here anymore. We love your project, but there's nothing we can do. So that's it. And then the Washington National Opera, they don't offer educational content for kids anymore. That whole program has been cut. So
That's the grieving.
no
Yes.
opportunities for me to do that every year.
Right.
And let me tell you, when you see a bunch of 4th graders, 2,000 4th graders, scream and cheer when Romeo and Juliet kiss, I get emotional just thinking about it right now. Like, it's astounding. They are, I'm getting emotional. They're there for 1 hour. They probably never, it's all overwhelming. They've never been to the Kennedy Center. They've never been at an opera house. They've never seen 110 people on stage and a horse.
Right. Right.
And they're so invested that when Romeo and Juliet kiss, they scream.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I miss that so much.
I was devastated when I saw you sharing about this ending, and I kind of saw it coming that this kind of thing would not survive what's happening. And that's why let's talk about it. I mean, you sharing about it keeps it
Yeah.
alive a little bit. But what an amazing, I mean, it's the power of the arts that 1 hour can stay in someone's memory because of the emotion, the beauty, the power, and the connection, and the novelty of it, and the wonder of it all. And you gave that to them.
And them connecting with 2,000 other strange kids they don't know
yes.
in the same room.
Yes.
That is super important. That's actually an angle that I've learned about now that I'm kind of a part of like the Children's Media Association and Theater for Young Audiences and the New Victory and like going to lots of panels and learning a lot is like, yeah, it's great that kids can come to Show Up Kids and be a part of helping to tell the story. But the other angle is they're part of a community of kids that they don't know. And I'm sure this time we're living in, kids are not spending as much time with other kids the way you and I did when we were kids. That's all we did was hang out with other kids, right?
Yes.
Now they're just with their parents, which isn't bad, but it's not great, I think, especially when you're in New York City and you've got the whole world in front of you. They're inside. I'm making the indication of an iPad or a phone. For those who can't see me, that's everybody. And they need to be at events. They need to feel other kids' energy. They need to see how other kids and other parents respond and react to what's happening around them. They learn how to show appreciation. If you don't go to the theater and you don't go to sporting events, how do you know that people cheer?
Right. And when we all gasp or sigh or cry at the same exact moment, because we're all in this experience as if it's happening, our own brains are operating as if it's happening to us, if it's being
Yeah,
done well,
heartbeats at the same time and stuff like that.
that is an irreplaceable experience. Absolutely shapes people. And it shapes kids, and adults need it too. We need it. It's the most humanizing and it could be transformative. It could be, but going back to the beauty and the power, I agree with you. And I think that's wonderful the way you stated it about the power of theater. And then let's peel it back to improv, because the podcast is about improv.
I know. I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah. But theater and improv are, of course, in the same family. The experience of improv has that, like, we all are together in something that is even more heightened because we're actually creating it together. And we have to impact each other, and we have to listen, and there has to be that inner human magic that is taking place, or else the improv is not really occurring.
And plus there are stakes
Yes.
because you're on stage.
Right.
And the audience has expectations.
Yes. But when people are learning to improvise just because they want to learn how it works, like when I started as an improviser, I had no interest whatsoever of ever doing it on stage. I just saw it on stage and I thought, I have to understand how this happens. I don't get it. I was trained in theater. I'm a musician. I have a degree in music. I was very much about if you make a mistake, it shows. If you don't do what's written, everyone knows. And that's how music really shapes your brain to like get it right and perfect. And that controlled me in a lot of ways. And I looked at these people creating something in the moment, and I couldn't wrap my head around how was that possible.
Yeah.
I knew it was happening. I believed it. But I also saw that when it was working, it looked as if it was scripted, but I clearly knew the people and I knew they wouldn't lie to me. So when I began learning how to do it, it was to learn, like, how is this possible? And so as a therapist, I looked at it like, how is it changing my brain to be in this space, not know what's going to happen? Well, it's about attunement. It's about alignment. It's everything you were saying about having empathy, acceptance. And then you learn to trust yourself a little bit to build on that idea. And I began to warm up to the idea of doing it. And then eventually they kind of force you take classes to do it on stage. And I realized that it is fun to actually have this other player involved, which is the audience reacting to you. I didn't really want that. I learned by experience, it's okay. And it can be really great. But I came into it like the snail in the tree. Like I don't have the right slime. I have a perfectionistic brain that I can't do that. So it's one of the reasons I do appreciate improv so much, and why I created the podcast is so other people who are maybe reluctant to think about it or consider it don't have to think of it as a performance. Think of it as a way of being in the world and as a way of being as a person. And it can actually help you recognize what your defenses are and shape them in a way while you're having fun.
Yeah. I think it works. It opens you up to receiving.
It does.
On so many levels. I just coined that now, but that is what it is. You have to be open to receive. If you're in a play that's scripted and you're in a long run of a play, you got to go, okay, I got to get through this today. What makes today different? Why am I excited? Where am I going to dinner afterwards? But with improv, if you're starting off in a bad day, a bad way, you've got to like snap into, this is not about me today. This is not about me. So let me use this time to take in other people's crap or great stuff. Let me be open to receiving whatever I get and trust myself that whatever I'm getting is actually going to make my own state of mind right now better.
Exactly. And the thing is, even if we're not able to do anything with it, it's a very forgiving space if it's being taught by, and most improv teachers that I ever had were very much about, this is very hard what you're doing. We all have defenses that are operating. So when those pop up and you get a brain freeze, or you say the same old joke that you always say and you're not actually being in the moment, so what? Now you know, like that's your default position. You're still in a self-protective mode. I learned so much about that I would be able to go and journal about it or talk about it in therapy for hours, because I would learn so much about, oh, these are the things I trip over in myself.
Yeah. It's funny you got me thinking about like when I started, I was new to New York. I mean, I'm from New York, but I was new to living in New York and I'm going to be an actor. And I was in a very successful off Broadway show. It ran for like almost a year, I think. It was crazy. And there was somebody in it who like every Friday night she had to leave right away to go do this show called Theater Sports up in the theater district.
Which is
And
an improv show, everybody. It's an improv show.
yes. It's a trademarked, but Theater Sports New York is the only one that does it in New York. Laura Livingston and Mike Durkin run that company, and I'm still friends with them and love them. But we went to see her in the show, and I was like, what is this thing that they're competing and doing these crazy scenes? It's so crazy. I want to do this. And she was like, take a class. So I took a class, and I was unsure. And then I took another class, and it's still like, oh, why am I, this is not working for me? I did not know at the time, but I can understand now, and maybe this will help anyone who's listening who's thinking about doing improv. Like, a lot of it is games. You're going to be playing a lot of games. I am terrible at games. I cannot remember rules to games. Even when it's like, okay, I challenge you to do a one word at a time scene. I'm like, one. Okay, so the game is I have to only speak. The game I would self-sabotage because it was a game. I'm still to this day, don't even ask me to play cards. I will not even play checker. Like, I just cannot do a game or watch any award ceremonies. I don't like winners or losers. So, so it took me forever to like realize you have to go through the games in order to get to the next. I don't know what is the next step with improv. I don't know.
The next step is scenes after
You have
games.
the scenes. Okay,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. And then, I mean, I do this in Show Up Kids to this day. Like, well, I don't know. I guess I don't really call it I guess it's not really a game. Maybe it is. So I love making lists. And then the door opened and there was a giant bear there. And that bear was eating the most wonderful pie. What kind of pie?
Blueberry.
Blueberry pie. And that was crazy because that bear normally ate apple pie and cherry pie and lemon meringue pie. Like, I will, until the audience is like, shut up, I will keep doing the list.
Yeah.
So I guess that's not really a game. But I know I love when like I'll bring an adult up and go, and then the mayor showed up to fix things up, and I'll pull a grown up on stage and I'll be like, tell them what you said. I love that speech so much when you said, about freeing the raccoons from the town square. And then that person will start and I will say it at the exact same time. I will do that game where you're talking at the same time.
Right.
I guess now that I'm thinking of it, there's plenty of games that I rely on. Why am I saying all this? Oh, because yeah, improv is like a lot of stuff. And there's also people that just do like dramatic scenes. I couldn't do that. I would be the comic relief in the dramatic scene. So you just got to find what works for you, what your thing is.
Yeah, the idea of it, of course, I look at it as, because I always think of the applied of it, although I love watching it and I love doing it for performance, but I think I'm a much better applied improviser than I am a performer, of course, because that's more my jam as a performer of improv. But it's made me a very, very much more dynamic storyteller. I feel so much more confident and relaxed on stage because of improv training. So I'm saying a very planned story. Every inch of it is planned, but the energy behind it is very different than it used to be when I was in my perfection mode. But what you were saying about games, I just wanted to mention that, I mean, games really are, I guess it's a loose version of, there's structure, and it's the way we know how to engage with each other is, we're going to speak one word at a time, or we're going to speak 3 words at a time. Just like in basketball, you say, we're going to practice dribbling, or we're going to practice shooting, or we're going to practice guard, we're going to practice defense, all that. And then once you get in the game, once you get into the actual game, you use whatever skill you need in the moment.
Yeah.
So it's really just drilling different kind of psychological muscles.
Yeah.
And I've taught this to so many people, and I feel good about saying it over and over again. It's just how to shift out of being so in that loaded self-protective state that we walk around in a lot of the time without even being aware of it. It's not a criticism of anyone. It's what we are. We're armored up to some degree, sometimes to a great degree, depending what world we're in, depending what the pressures around us
Yeah.
are. And I find that there's a quality to improv that can help us just be aware of that and maybe make a new choice, that we feel more free, and maybe we'll actually get the job done and not feel so afraid.
Well, I feel that those skills apply. Imagine you're someone who has a gift for writing and you don't really know that you have it, or, you stop yourself. Somehow, if you're taking improv or learning improv, that should, I think, empower you to not have to worry about protecting yourself. First of all, no one has to see what you're writing, right? So I always, when I teach writing, it's just like, just vomit it out. Just go, just write crap, just be terrible.
Yeah.
Whenever I write a new press release, it's terrible. And then I go back and you zhuzh it, you fix it. And improv, if you can take those, isn't that strange that like improv can give you confidence without actually knowing anything, other than believing. I guess it goes back again to like opening yourself to receiving information and opening and allowing that information to process its way through you and then put that information back out into the world the way you want to do it.
Right.
Just be yourself.
So can I throw you into a brief improv scene as we get close to the end of I'm going to take everything you said. I just made up a game.
Okay.
In my head. So Peter, you're the best clown, but let's give a really terrible acceptance speech.
Oh, terrible.
You hate award shows. So you've been forced to come here and give, and so you're just going to give a terrible acceptance speech.
Yes, I will not accept this award. I did not ask for this award. I actually don't want any awards if anyone is thinking about giving them to me. We are all winning this award because we've all made it this far. And if you think that this is just the end, it's just the beginning of my speech, because nothing pisses me off more than someone going over their time at an award show for something that they already knew they were going to win, that they're pretending to not know that they won. Oh, that's my time? I don't know. Is that it?
That was a perfect example.
There's an angry clown. I'm pointing. My face is getting red.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I think that's a great way for us to.
Winning an award is the best way to end the day. I'm done. I'm done.
Well, you made such beautiful insights in our conversation, and I'm so grateful for all the work that you have done, and will continue to do. And I'm going to take this idea that that you love clowning, you didn't even know you were a clown, and think about, because as a recovering perfectionist, thinking of the clown metaphor is a very healing and empowering thing for someone like me. Because I know I'm a clown. What I mean is that I don't know that I'm bumbling around. No matter how well you do things, basically we have these blind spots, and I love thinking about that everyone can see them, and you have to.
Exactly. I mean, believe me, we're all watching you at the family dinner that you're hosting, trying to be a perfectionist and failing time after time. It's
might as well
so
embrace
endearing.
it.
It's endearing. Don't get upset, Jude.
That's it. Peter, I know we're going to put this in the show notes. What do you want to mention that's evergreen about you, or anything you have? This will be coming out pretty soon, but it will be around for people to listen to in the future as well. So,
yeah, I just think my website is the best place to go. PeterMMarino.com.
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 Peter, there we go. And thank you so much for everything, Peter. And we'll put it all in the show notes.
I'll teach you how to write press releases. You can come see Planet of the Grapes, my new toy theater show. You can come show up kids. It never ends. So I'm not going to put you on my mailing list. I don't do it. So it's up to you to go to my website every so often and see what the hell's going on.
And I order you to go to the website as your podcast host. I compel you.
Doing the Lord's work.
Thank you, Peter. That's it for this episode of Improv in Real Life. For more info about our guest and other resources, you can visit our show notes. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please follow or subscribe wherever you listen. And if you're feeling extra generous, write us a review or share with a friend. You can also find us on Instagram at lifestage_inc. And if you want to dive deeper into these concepts, please connect with me on Substack at Jude Treder-Wolff. To be continued, to be continued, to be each other now more than ever. We need creativity more than ever. I hope these games and ideas inspire you in some way, and if they do, keep it going. I will too. See you next time.